Hello, my name is Steve Bowler, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at zone-based firewalls. We're going to be taking a look here at how you would use zone-based firewalls and also how to configure them, how to verify the configuration of them, and just going to show you here a basic scenario in which to apply a zone-based firewall. Some of the features here with zone-based firewalls are that they're with zone-based firewalls we're actually setting up policies between different zones and not the interfaces themselves. So what we're going to see is that we're going to be using class maps and policy maps. We're going to be using the Cisco MQC module for setting this up to work properly. And what we're going to do is we're going to use router 2 as the implementing the zone-based firewall configuration on it. Router 2's, I guess what I could do here is take a look. Router 2, the fast Ethernet 00 is going to router 1. And the fast Ethernet 01 is going to router 3 here. So what we're going to see with zone-based firewalls is that the configuration can be pretty overwhelming and intimidating. But when we break it down into sections and actually see what we're actually doing here with zone-based firewall configuration, what we're going to see is that it's not all that bad. Now, it needs to be noted here with zone-based firewalls that by default, if there is not a policy set up between two different zones, and in this case we're going to have an outside zone and an inside zone, by default, if there is no policy between these two zones, no traffic will be permitted to cross. So all traffic is pretty much denied by default here, what we'll see with our zone-based firewalls. And like I was saying before here, the configuration of the zone-based firewall is pretty intense. There's a lot of steps here that we got to follow, and some of the steps are, first we have to identify, like we already did here, the interfaces and what zone the interface is going to be in. So in this case, the inside zone is going to be applied to our fast Ethernet 00 interface on router 2. Outside will be fast Ethernet 01. We also have to be aware of the traffic flow. How is the traffic going to flow between the zones? And we're also going to be dealing with a feature called a zone pair. And we're going to be taking a look here at how to configure, the zone pair. And what the zone pair is going to do is you're pretty much pairing up your different zones, in the traffic. So in this case, we're going to set up a zone pair, for inside to outside and then outside to inside. So we'll get into that in a minute. What we're also going to have to set up here is we're going to basically determine what traffic we want to either permit or deny within class maps. And if we're dealing with class maps, we're going to be also dealing with policy maps, because the class map is going to define what traffic we want to basically classify or mark, and then the policy map is actually going to say, okay, now that you have these different classes of traffic. Say you want to permit a certain IP subnet range, or you want to permit telnet traffic or web traffic. The policy map is going to actually be giving you the statement on what you want to do with that traffic once you've actually identified it. So with policy maps, of course, we know there's a lot of things here. We can perform inspection on the different classes. We can we can do policing, shaping of traffic. So what we're going to find here with our zone-based firewall configuration is that we're going to be using class maps to define our traffic. Then we're going to be associating the class maps within the policy maps, and that's going to be used to actually tell us what we actually want to do with the different classes of traffic. And then, of course, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to, if you've worked with quality of service before, you know that the policy maps, once you have defined your policy map, you actually have to apply it to an interface. But in this case, what we're going to do in this case is we're going to actually apply our policy maps to our zone pair within the zone-based firewall here. So again, it sounds like a heck of a lot of stuff to do. Hopefully I can break it down for us here so that we can understand exactly what's going on, and it won't be too easy to figure out. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be running RIP version 2 across all of these routers. Let's give router 3 a loopback here. Let's get loopback 0, 3.3.3.3 /24 for router 3. And then what we're going to see here is that we're going to have a loopback on router 1, which is, well, let's just make it easy in this case. We'll give it an easy identifier here so we can identify it easily within our configuration set. And so what we're going to be seeing is we're going to do a couple of different policies here between letting the outside traffic traverse to the inside network, and vice versa here, letting traffic return back to the outside. And we're going to be using the zone-based firewall configuration set here to do this. It's a relatively new feature. I'm not sure when it was actually founded. I'm guessing probably about maybe 5 years ago. Currently it's 2010, so what we're going to find too is, with the different zones, is that we have rules that we have to go by, and these rules are pretty straightforward. And these basic rules are, like in this case, we have the inside zone and the outside zone. However, if these interfaces like Fast Ethernet 00 and 01 aren't defined yet within our zone-based firewall configuration on router 2, traffic will flow between these two interfaces with no problems. However, say we put Fast Ethernet 01 into a zone and Fast Ethernet 00 is not in a zone, well, then there will never be traffic will not be able to pass from a interface that's not in a zone and an interface that is within a zone. And then our last thing here that we can do is have both of these areas in a zone. And say we have our inside zone here is fast unit 00, and our outside zone is applied to fast unit 01. Again, we're going to have to define within the zone pair the traffic to flow between the two zones. So I'm going to go ahead and get this this network configured real fast. I'm going to get RIP version 2 set up and make sure we have full reachability. Okay, so I'm back here. What I did while I had the video paused is I just went ahead and configured RIP version 2 on all the routers, advertised all the interfaces that you're seeing here into RIP version 2, and now we can see if we have reachability here. If we just go to router 1 and we do a show IP route, you can see that we are learning the RIP route from between router 2 and 3, but we're not seeing the loopback address from router 3. So let me go to router 3, and on router 3 what we'll do here, we'll just go ahead and do a network 3, advertise the 3 network into RIP. We'll give it a second here to replicate. So now if I do a ping to the 3 network, and we'll source it from our loopback 0 interface, which is the 1 network. As you can see, we have full reachability now throughout our RIP domain. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to do a simple zone-based firewall configuration, in that what we'll do is we'll just deny everything from the outside inbound. However, we're going to set up a simple policy that's going to show us that we're going to permit traffic to, the 3 network from inside to the outside of the network. So first what we need to do is pretty much define what kind of traffic we want to classify here, and we can do that with the class map. So we'll go ahead and do a class map, and then what we're going to be using here is a form of an ACL type, which is called, well, let's just say in this scenario the class map inspect option is going to, if we do a class map type and then inspect, we can see here it's content-based access control. So basically this is going to allow us to do like deep packet inspection on traffic flows. So what we're going to see here from in this example, we're going to be inspecting traffic as it comes in from the inside interface and goes to the outside. We're going to inspect it and then allow it back in from the outside back into the inside. So we'll do a class map type inspect, and then in this case we'll just do, you can see here you can name it any type of word, or they already have types of traffic here that you can ask for. And what we'll do is, the default in this case would be a match all, where it uses the logical AND. So say we have 4 things configured under here, match, HTTP, POP3, SNMTP, and Sunray PC. It's going to have to match all of those and able to fall into the class map. If it doesn't, then it's not going to take. So what we'll do here is we'll do a class map type inspect, and we'll keep it simple. In this case, we'll be let's just name it ICMP. And then, as you can see here, what we're going to follow that up with within the class map now is where we have to define our traffic that we want to match within the class map. So we do that by using the match command, and then you can see here we can do an ACL we can match, We can match protocols here. We can also match another class map, which is called nested class maps, and so what we're not going to do that right now. What we'll do is we'll just do the match protocol and then ICMP. So what we'll do is we will allow, in this case, maybe router 3. Off of router 3 we have like a server that we just want to make sure that we have reachability to. So we'll just be matching ICMP traffic. We'll be doing a ping from router 1. We'll be matching that ICMP traffic on router 2. Actually, why am I on router 1 doing this? You might be wondering. Good question. This definitely would not have worked. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing this configuration on router 2, so obviously I need to get into router 2. So we'll go back here into router 2, we'll do a class map type again, and then we're going to be doing inspect. Again, we're going to be using inspect for our zone-based firewall configuration. So the class map type is inspect, which allows us to do deep packet inspection on IP flows. So we're going to do class map type inspection or inspect, and then we can follow up with the word. We'll just call it ICMP here. And then the next thing we'll do here is we will do a match protocol, and then we'll do ICMP. And that is it for our class map. Our next object that we want to do is we want to, now that we have defined the type of traffic that we want to, now that we've classified our traffic using the class map, we want to go ahead and go and create what's called a policy map, and this will give us, this actually is where the action is performed on the traffic or the protocol ICMP in this case that we defined in the class. So we'll do a class map. I'm sorry, not class map. We'll do a policy map, and then type inspect, and then see here there's already a couple of pre-configured options. We're going to go ahead and do and before we go ahead and do this policy map, what we can do here, best practice, we can go ahead and rename this. Let's do a no class map. Then we'll just go back in here and just create another class map, type inspect, ICMP, and then we'll just do underscore like, and just create a class. So this is pretty much all you can do, this is good enough for now. We'll just do match protocol and then ICMP here, and then now we'll back out of our class map. We'll go ahead and do a policy map now. Do policy map, and then type is going to be inspect, and then we'll name it ICMP policy here for our policy. And then under here what we're going to do is, again, we're going to be inspecting this traffic as it crosses from our inside interface here, which is, don't know what happened to the interfaces, so it's fast Ethernet 00 on router 2 is the inside interface, and then the outside is fast Ethernet 01 here. So as we can see here, we have first what we want to do is we want to call, I guess you if you want to call it that, we want to call, or we want to to within the policy map, we have to define the classes, and then under the classes is where we will perform the action to take on the different classes. So in this case, under the policy map type inspect ICMP policy, what we want to do is define the class that we want to match. In this case, our class is going to be, as you can see here, we named it ICMP class. So we'll just do class ICMP class and then enter. And then here's where we can see we can apply a lot of different options. We can drop the packet, we can inspect. Remember, like we were talking about, context-based access control. So we can inspect the traffic as it comes into router 2 and creates those IP flows. We'll do deep packet inspection, and we will be able to allow that traffic out and then back in. Also, you can see here we have, pass traffic. We can police the traffic. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to use the inspect command here for now. And that is it. So now we can verify these. If we just do a show class map, you can see that we have, let's see here, do a show policy map on router 2. Oops, forgot to we do a show class map and then type, and we'll just use inspect. And now you can see here, if we do a show class map type inspect, we can see we have our class map type inspect, which is called ICMP class, and its match protocol is ICMP. And then we can also look at the policy map by doing a show policy map type inspect, and we can see that we have a policy map that is named ICMP policy, and under it we are defining the class ICMP class, and under the ICMP class we will be inspecting the traffic. So we will be, basically we're going to be inspecting ICMP traffic as it comes into router 2. Our next step here in the zone-based firewall configuration is we need to define the zone security types. So we go ahead and do that by doing the zone and then security. And then as we have here, we have inside and outside. So let's do zone security inside. We'll back out of here, and then we'll do the zone security outside. So now that we have our security zones set up, what I like to do next here is just go under the interfaces and define the interfaces within the zone security. So we'll go interface fast unit 00 on router 2, and we can do the command is zone member, and you follow it up with security. And then remember, fast unit 00 on router 2 is the inside zone, so we're going to go ahead and put in here inside. And then we'll go to interface fast unit 01, and we will do the zone member security command, and then we'll make it a member of the outside security zone. So our configuration here for the zone-based firewall is almost done. we went ahead, we created our zone security, basically our security zones, inside and outside. We went ahead, and the next thing we needed to do is put those under a interface on the router. So we defined the zone member security inside for FastUnit 00, and then we put the security zone outside under the FastUnit 01 interface. And our next option here to do is to create the zone pair. And the zone pair is going to map one interface to, or one zone to another zone. So we'll go ahead and do a zone pair security, then we create the name of the zone pair. So in this case we could just do something like in to out, and then it's going to ask us for the source zone. In this case we're going to source it from the inside. So the zone here is inside, which is again configured to be the FastUnit 00 port. So zone pair security, then we gave it a unique name here, in to out, so we know that this zone pair is going to be for traffic that is inside the network going out. So zone pair security in to out, source is the inside zone, and the destination here is the outside zone. And that is it. So again, now we're at the last option here, or the last point under the Zone Based Firewall configuration. We have our zone pair security, we have our zone pair that we just created, and the last step that we have to do here is we need to apply the policy map under the zone pair. So we do this by using the service policy command. Again, we're going to do service policy and then type inspect, and then it's going to ask us for the policy map name. And if we go back here, we can see that the policy map name here was ICMP policy. So we'll go ahead and take that, and we'll go ahead and paste that in, and go ahead and hit enter there. So what we're going to see now here is we're going to go ahead and test our implementation. We're also going to, I'm also going to show you how to check the implementation, using the show commands here. And hopefully this all is going to work. So again, what we did was we created a zone pair from the inside to the outside. And inside of the zone pair, we have a policy map that is matching the ICMP traffic, or matching protocol ICMP. So what we should see here with this implementation of a zone-based firewall is we should see that there is nothing from the outside that is going to be allowed inbound to the inside. However, we are allowing, through our zone pair inside to outside, we are allowing ICMP traffic to flow between FastUnit 00 and 01. So if we go ahead and try to check this, we go to router 3, and if we do a show IP route, we can still see, we still have full IGP reachability. Well, I'm sorry, we still have the routes in RIP here for, the loopback of router 1. So if I go ahead and try to ping it, what you can see here is that we are not successful in pinging router 1. So again, we unable to use ICMP traffic here from router 3 to router 1. However, if we go on the other side of this, which is router 1, and we go ahead and do a ping 1.1.1.1, I'm sorry. If we try to ping outside, which is 3.3.3.3, as you can see, we are successful. So we are not allowing ICMP traffic inbound from the outside. However, we are allowing it outbound from the inside to outside via the zone pair that we created under the Zone Based Firewall configuration, which is matching ICMP traffic from inside our network. We can verify this if we go to router 2, and if we just do a show policy map and then type inspect, and then it's going to ask us for the policy map name here, and in this case I believe it was ICMP policy. Actually, what we're going to be using here is the zone pair command. So we'll do a show policy map, type inspect, and then zone pair. And what this is going to do is show us the zone pair, which is in to out. It's going to give us the the service policy that's implemented under the zone pair, which is the ICMP policy. Again, what this is doing, we're matching all ICMP traffic. And let's go ahead and do this again and see if we can hit the up arrow here. So if we go on a router 2, do the command, as you can see here that we are seeing, the session was created 1 second ago, so it's actually doing this as we speak here. We're seeing the packets increment here being fast switched by the router. So it appears as though we are successful here with our implementation of the zone-based firewall. So as you can see here, we're getting a lot of if I go ahead and try to telnet, like from the inside to the outside, as you can see, it's not going to allow me to telnet to, let's say, to the web server here. What we're actually seeing here is we're actually seeing packets being dropped under the class map class default. What we can do, let's see here. Let's go on to router 2. And what we'll do is we'll go under the class map class default. Let's see. says that we cannot configure it. Okay. I guess what I wanted to try to do is make this a little more clear to see here that our telnet traffic was not being passed through. What I could do is create a class map for telnet. Let's go ahead and take a look at this here real fast. Let's go ahead and try to ping again. We'll do the sessions command. And now what we can see is we're actually seeing what I wanted to see earlier here. It's actually showing us, you know, the session that is created. You know, it's actually showing, you know, the ping echo request coming from, you know, router 1. It's seeing the reply from router 3 here. So very awesome tool here is the Zone Based Firewall. Very powerful application here that we can do. And now, as you can see, as the ping stopped, you can see the session was torn down and there is no session anymore created. So I'm not able to telnet. What I can do too is match telnet traffic too. So we can go back in here to router 2. We can do a class map type inspect, and then we'll just do telnet class. And then what we can do under here is do a match protocol telnet. And then what we need to do here is put it under the policy map. So we'll go to the policy map, type inspect, and then our policy map. Let's make sure I have it correctly here. I think it's, we'll just put it under the ICMP policy, since that's already tied in with the zone pair. So we'll go under the ICMP policy. We'll just do class, and then we'll do the telnet class, and then we'll go ahead and do inspect here, and then that should be it. So if we do a show policy map type inspect zone pair sessions, you can see here now that we have added the telnet class, which is matching protocol telnet, and it's inspecting the traffic. So now from router 1, if I go ahead and try to telnet, now you can see here we were successful. So we go to router 2 and let's go to router 3. We'll just do username username Cisco, password Cisco. We'll go back to router 1 and we'll do a telnet. Actually, you know what I forgot to do? Go into the line VTY 0. Let's see how many lines are on here. 9, 3. And we'll go do a login local here. So now let's go back to router 1. We'll go ahead and do a telnet. So now on router 2, to check this, if I do a show policy map type inspect zone pair sessions, now you can see here that I have a telnet session that is actively open here. However, if I go to router 3 and I try to telnet, to router 1, as you can see, we are unsuccessful here. So again, what we've done in this lab is a simple implementation of the zone-based firewall option. It's a very strong tool. You can do a lot more with it here. What I'm just showing you here is the basics of allowing, we just created a zone pair between two different zones here. We had the inside and outside zone. We matched based on, we created two class maps. In the class maps, we matched ICMP traffic and telnet traffic. Then we created a policy map called ICMP policy, and then we put the ICMP, the class, underneath the policy map. So once we had the traffic defined in the class map, we wanted the policy map, and we told it pretty much what to do for what class. So for the class of ICMP, we're inspecting the traffic, we're doing CBAC, or context-based access control, and also with the telnet class, we're matching telnet traffic, and we're performing deep packet inspection as well. So after we went on and configured the policy map, we went and configured let's see here, we configured the zones. So if we do a show zone security here, we can see that we created the zone inside, and we put it on router 2's fast Ethernet 00 interface, and then we have a zone outside in which we put under router 2's fast Ethernet 01 interface. Once we created our zones, we went ahead and created, we put them under the interface. So if we do show run interface fast Ethernet 00, you can see here we did a zone member security option, put it under the inside, and then fast Ethernet 01, we put it as the outside interface. And after we did that, we went ahead and did we created our zone pair. So if we do that, we just do a show zone pair security, and you can see here under that we did the source zone. We have to name the zone pair, and we named it in to out for inside to outside. The source zone we have as the inside zone, and then the destination zone we have as the outside zone. We then went under the zone pair that we created, and we applied the policy map that we created. So again, the policy map in a zone-based firewall configuration is actually applied under the zone pair, and this is different in some versions of QoS where you put the the service policy, or the policy map, you put that command under the interface. So in the zone-based firewall, we're actually applying the service policy and the policy map under the zone pair. And last but not least, what we did here on router 2, we just did to verify our traffic flows here. We did some pings, from router 1 to router 3. We got some replies. So if I go ahead and ping, we went on to router 2 and did a show policy map type inspect zone pair session. That gave us more information here on the active sessions that are going across the zone-based firewall. And after we implemented the ping, we went on router 3 and we saw that we were denied back to router 1. So we're seeing that our zone pair, which was just inside to outside traffic. So we didn't have anything, and that's what we wanted to show here in this implementation of zone-based firewall, is that we don't need any rules going from the outside inside for this example here. So we are implicitly denying all traffic from the outside to the inside. And then we went ahead on router 1 and we did a telnet to router 3, and it's, as you can see here, it's working correctly. We went on router 2, we did a show policy map type inspect zone pair session again, and at this time we could see that the class map for the telnet traffic, we could see the session was established. And then we went on router 3 to try to telnet from router 3 back to router 1, and we could see that we were unsuccessful. And so that's it, guys. That's all I really wanted to hit on with zone-based firewalls in this lab. As you can see, the configuration is kind of intimidating. There's a lot going on, but I would just suggest just practice it a couple times. What you'll see is that it's very similar to a lot of the QoS that you're doing, and once you figure out how to create your zones, your zone pairs, and apply your service policies under your zone pairs, and actually you're seeing the traffic flowing between the different zones, then it all starts to come together. So again, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you'll be with me with the next one.